a show of this calibre, for the forestry industry and all its different aspects that surround it. I'm in this job 6 weeks, and the first thing I'd like to do is welcome my own elected representatives from different parties here as well. I'd like to thank Lord Ross for the premises, and David and the Irish Timber Growers Association for organising this. But over the last 6 weeks, rather than going into an office, I'm a farmer by nature, and I get very hard to be confined in places and to be given this job, and in particular to be asked to look after forestry and horticulture and the greyhound industry. That's my portfolio. I made a conscious decision to go out and travel to everybody that has asked me in particular, and there are still a lot of people I still would like to meet who have a vested interest in the timber business, in forestry, in renewable energy. And the one thing I have found, and I wouldn't, a month ago if you asked me to speak at something like this, I would be afraid of my life to open my mouth. But the one thing I would, and I've made a decision to say that the timber industry is a very, very healthy industry to be in at the moment, and it is going to be healthier. And for all you people that have invested, let it be in the 1990s or early before that, I think it's crucial that you realise the potential of the forestry industry. It's a safe bet, number one. There's a market for it. Let it be for renewable energy, or let it be for exporting, or let it be for processing. And I suppose everything, last night I was in Wexford in a nursery, it was one of the hard timbers, and I've gone through the forestry industry from start to finish. And I think the idea that I come here to a show where you have nearly all those different people, it's crucial. And Lord Ross says to me there about having a show maybe every 2 years. I think it would be wrong not to have one every year, because it's going to grow, and in the year 2020 we have to plant an awful lot more if we're, to meet our targets. But we also as a department have got to ensure that people who plant are paid and looked after. And because they're, to me, coming from a farming background, the farmer at the very end, or the person who plants at the very end of it, over the last 8 or 10 years, seem to be squeezed out more and more. They're the person that's left with the smaller margin, let it be in milk, dairy, poultry, whatever. And we have a job to do at the end of the year when it comes to the budget, and that is to secure the funding for people who are going into forestry. And that I will intend to do. We've already started the process. We split our portfolio, Simon and myself, and we started the process yesterday. Instead of landing something on top of people at the last minute in relation to cuts, I think it's crucial that people, all you people here that have a vested interest, that you write to us or you come through your local representative, elected representatives or whatever, and tell us what to do. You know what's best for your industry, and then it's up to us to ensure that we protect it. Every aspect of the industry. I've been in the sawmills, and I have more sawmills. I have to go down to Galway to visit sawmills. I've been at plantations. I've saw tinning. I've saw the planting and the seed itself from the very beginning. And whereas I would have been used to looking at a herd of cows coming down the road, every field I look into now, all I want to see is trees. But the one thing I have learned, you've got to treat them. You've got to treat that plantation the same as a flock of sheep, a herd of cows, or whatever, because by God, it's worth minding. I think you're beginning to realise that at the end of the day, the more you tin, and tinnings are being, you're paid for your tinnings, but at the end of the day, every time you tin, your crop becomes, it's worth more to you. And as I said earlier on in the day, it's a far better investment than in shares and banks or anything at the moment. And it's a steady income provided we in the government we have to ensure that you maintain your premiums. But it's a great time to get into it, because I do know from listening to people the demand is there, not alone in Ireland, but the demand is England in particular and other countries. Everything I'd seen about forestry was very good until I got a rude awakening this morning, because I asked for a presentation or to meet all those people that were involved in last week's fires, and through Culture this morning, and people in the private industry, the Garda Síochána, the Army, the Civil Defence, and my own department, we got a briefing in relation to what did happen and in relation to what shouldn't have happened. And we put a plan in place to get everybody's opinion, number one, and from early next week to do everything we can that we do not have any more loss of what is a very, very valuable asset. People's lives were put at risk, people's homes were put at risk, and whereas some of the fires were started deliberately, and that's the most annoying thing of it. Some of the fires then might have intended to be started, but they started. And it's an educational program that we have to do. If we're going to grow the industry, which we will, like the plan is there to grow the industry. I think at the moment, as I said earlier, the size of Cork is planted at the moment, but in order for us to reach our target by 2020, we have to plant Tipperary as well. That's the size of the growth in the forestry industry, and there's no getting away from it. And I think, you know, and it's very interesting. It's you know, as I said, I was a farmer by nature, but to get the education that I got from some of the people that are here in the hall, from my own department, you know, it's a nice industry, and if you treat it properly, it's going to pay. And you see by even having this conference here today, or show, you see what it brings to ball. You see what it brings in, like I drove in and the crowds were coming in already. You see every end, the catering end of it, to the village, or town, or whatever you call it. It's like, I always remember Boris, a good GA town anyway. But you see what it brings to an area, and every one little job looks after another job. And where jobs might be paying that very well at the moment, you know, bit by bit it starts, and you all know the amount of people that are involved in the industry. Like I want to try and visit as many of the stalls, because everybody's related to the industry, and meet as many people as I can. And I would also like to issue the invitation to go into some of your crops and that, and you know, the wildlife that's attached to it as well, and there's a lot of wildlife damage at the weekend as well. In relation to insurance, I think it's crucial that everybody knows that their property is insured, and I've heard a bit of news there on my way, and I won't. We'd have to ensure that insurance companies do continue to take on new people that go into forestry. We have to watch that. But we have to, even the public have got to ensure that what happened last weekend doesn't happen again next weekend, and the only way you can do that is by being vigilant, keep an eye on your neighbour, you know, or if you see something suspicious starting, don't be afraid to ring the fire brigade, because you won't be billed for it, because it's, you know, and people in the fire brigade said that to me this morning. But there's no point in us progressing with this industry if we're not going to insure it, number one, and if we're not going to mind it. There's very little more I'd like to say, except to wish everybody well in the industry. As a minister and as somebody who's only learning, I would prefer to watch everything here today and listen. But I am committed as junior spokesperson in agriculture, but especially with responsibility to forestry, to support everybody. And I mean everybody, no matter what part you're in. And it's your views, your ideas that will help it to grow. I think that's all I will say. And I'd like to thank you for the invitation, wish you all well. I hope the show continues with plenty of sunshine for the next 2 days. And I'll be always open to visit any of the Kerry, Cork, Galway, wherever. Just send in invitation and meet us groups. I suppose the one thing that I have found, and I found the same in the horticulture, is a little bit of, you know, there's always competition maybe between two sectors. And I think if it's to succeed, those sectors have got to start talking to each other, because the picture is a far bigger picture than you think. The Ireland's all about exports, and it's crucial that we don't squeeze each other out. That has happened in a lot of industries in Ireland, in particular in agriculture. And you see it with multinationals coming in on top of our, you know, you can be squeezed out and then set one against the other. But I got a great lesson down in Monaghan mushrooms when I went down to an industry that was nearly gone 4 or 5 years ago. But I went down there. It was one of the first visits I took on myself, to see how even people in competition with each other developed one unit and sold as a unit. And they now supply 62% of the English market. Every day, 7 Arctic loads go to England. And it will be my intention that it will be in the horticulture, that it will be in the forestry end of it, that people sit down who have been invested into it together, regardless what sector it is, and drive it forward, first of all to meet the home market, but then more importantly to meet the export market, because it's our exports that begin to get us out of the quandary we're in. And if we got to, if we stabilise things and over the next 12 months, and that's our intention, and our boss has made it quite clear to us, if I don't do my job in this year gone. So that is one aim I would have, is to unite everybody within the industry together, work as a team, sell as a team, and then everybody can get a fair living out of it. Thank you very much.